Well, let's talk about the situation in Jagersfontein. We're joined now by Andries Nkome, a lawyer for Jagersfontein residents, and Xolani Tseletsele, Kopanong mayor. You saw him in that insert there. Mayor, may I start with you? So initial reports suggested this may be yet another dam wall collapse in Jagersfontein. The company then said it was about storm water. So can we confirm that this isn't the second collapse? It really is storm water drainage, but it is affecting residents yet again.
Good evening to you and good evening to Mr. Nkome and the viewers at home. What we can safely confirm, ma'am, is that yesterday night we were under the impression that it was the second collapse of a dam because we were on site, but we could not view it because it was late. But this morning we picked up that it was not a collapse of a dam, it was a dam that was overflowing because of the heavy rains that we were experiencing for the past 3 days. But that in itself, which was an incident, has also reawakened the fears and the anxiety in the community because everyone was running out of his or her own household yesterday night, and we had to do loud hailing, interact directly with community members to try and keep them in assurance that it is not the second collapse of a dam. But what we want to emphasize on is that whatever dams or whatever collapse or whatever overflowing of water that comes from that particular facility needs to be controlled and intact, and assurance must be given to the community that there won't be such occurrences tomorrow or any other day of the future.
This is very concerning, Mayor. Like you say, any sort of overflow should be controlled. Shouldn't there have been measures in place? And shouldn't you have already established what is going on given the first dam wall collapse? So we understood that all activity at the mine had stopped. What are your deliberations now with the company involved, Jagersfontein Development?
We believe that given the weather conditions of this year are not different than from the weather conditions that we have had in the past years, they should have a proper plan which must be able to control the water flow, which must be able to be conducive for the weather itself. And this day we've been waiting to meet with the management. They've indicated to us that they will revert back to us for us to have such a meeting. But that meeting have not yet set. It's almost 7 o'clock at night. The meeting has not yet set. But the contents of the meeting was to clarify on whether the dam is safe and whether the communities are safe. But that meeting has not yet set. The reason for the meeting not to sit was on the basis that they are having sessions with the environmental affairs, water and sanitation compliance officers to try and check, can they mitigate the situation in the mine? But that is not enough for us. We think that they must come and engage us and give us assurance so that we must have a proper license or relation or what we might relate to communities to keep them at peace and to try and work on the issues of fear, issues of anxiety. But without proper information, we won't be able to relay such a message to communities.
Mayor, let's continue to talk about this. I understand that you've appointed a law firm to look at the company's responsibility here. The questions still remain, more than 2 weeks after the first dam wall collapse. Who was responsible? Why was this company not meeting the standards in terms of volumes for the tailings dam in the first place? So what will that company do? When will we have a sense of whether this will go to court or not?
What we can safely confirm, ma'am, is that since the operation of this mine, it has been a matter that has been indicative that for it to be resolved, it emanates from matters that are at sub judice. One is that the mine itself, I think previously we have expressed this view that the DMRE does not have the authority or right in the operations of that particular mine. Now we've picked up that as a community and leaders of the community, we are extending a leave of peace and interaction with the particular mining bosses. But for us to be at a safer place, we need to have the legal hand or the legal side on our side to assist us in engagements in ensuring that whatever those victims have lost, they must be taken into consideration in ensuring that their assets, their houses, the infrastructure of the municipality is restored to its originality. So we have appointed lawyers. We have spoken to Mr. Nkome, Mr. Changana and associates to assist us on this matter.
Why do you say that the mining department has no authority here? I'm just trying to understand that, because this is also about government oversight, the Department of Mining and Water Sanitation. Were the proper checks being done? There were some reports that Water and Sanitation had issued a warning to this company. And why aren't you all working together right now, the municipality and those two governmental departments?
There is a court judgment in 2007 which was saying that DMRE, because of the MPRDA, in the manner in which it is structured, that DMRE does not have the prerogative to at least have legislation that details as to how should the mining dams be either processed or operated. And therefore, the Department of Water and Sanitation is the one that has got a prerogative to at least advise as to how should the mine operate. What we are also told is that particular area, it is not a mine, but it's a matter of that it is a facility. Of course, there are semantics at play, but we are in engagement with DMRE. The portfolio committee did came here, and they feel strong that they've got a role to play on the basis that the diamonds that are extracted are at least located in a legislation which explains that diamonds themselves are natural mineral resources, and therefore they ought to play a role over it. But the Department of Water and Sanitation has been assisting us, at least through sending its compliance officers, engaging with the mining bosses. But what we are waiting on their side, it's a full report as to what are the relations and so on. We are working very well in the assessments. We are working very well in ensuring that there are reports that were taken into confidence as a municipality as to what should happen in moving forward. But what we want to also emphasize, our optimism on this issue is that if there's going to be a reoperation of the mine or its reopening after the entire crisis or quagmire that we are facing, at least there must be proper engagements of all these stakeholders to agree on the modus operandi of the mine. The community as a particular stakeholder, which is very important and very key, ought to be taken at least into confidence as to this particular facility must give our community the necessary economic participation that they need.
All right, thank you, Mayor. I think that we do again have with us Andries Nkome, lawyer for Jagersfontein residents. Mr. Nkome, are you able to hear me this time?
I can hear you clearly, ma'am.
Okay.
Good evening.
All right, thank you. So what is the response of residents? Is any of this reassuring? It sounds like this is really complicated, very difficult to even ascertain a sense of responsibility here. And now we have this latest incident as well.
Thanks for having me. Good evening to Mayor Tseletsele as well as to the viewers at home. It's very, very concerning. And we have been able to say from day one that it doesn't help us trying to prioritize the reconstruction of houses if we are not able to give a guarantee that the demo is secure enough to make sure that there isn't a reoccurrence of the September 11 events. And truth be to word, yesterday we had a meeting with the housing department of the province, and they were making offers on the reconstruction of the houses, but we realized later that this reflow of the water from the dam essentially entails that there's still danger that is still looming in Jagersfontein.
The reflow or the overflow, we understand nobody was injured this time, but what's the extent of the damage? Can you give us a comparison? It must have been scary for residents, but can we at least say it wasn't nearly as bad as last time?
I think the clips that you played have been showing that people are living in anger, they are living in fear, and it's the very same trauma that has been lived out of the September 11. It looks as if we are going to have to make assessments of the extent of trauma that people suffered, and we are supposed to make those be paid for by the mining house as well as any other entity that will later on find that was responsible for what transpired in Jagersfontein.
Are there also legal movements? We know the Kopanong municipality is looking at legal action. What are residents doing?
Look, we represent, as Pastor Lyot, the mining entity and the Kopanong local municipality, and we also represent the individual claimants that have been affected as a result of the mine dam collapse. Now it looks as though we are going to be getting even more of the claims simply because of the reoccurrence of the same events of September 11.
All right, thank you very much. Andries Nkome, lawyer for Jagersfontein residents, Xolani Tseletsele. We were speaking to the mayor of Kopanong as well.